A national shortage of antibiotics is threatening to drive up hospital admissions in a health system already under strain. It's reignited calls for more domestic manufacturing. Joining us live now for more on this is Pharmacy Guild of Australia National President Trent Twomey. Trent, thank you for your time. How has it reached this point that we now face a shortage of essential medicine in Australia?
Morning, Gabrielle. Well, we're only 2% of the worldwide medicine market. And so really, these global medicine manufacturers don't see the Australian market as a priority for them. So when medicines become short, and that could be either because of labour problems, like many other supply chains are experiencing because of the global pandemic, or indeed a shortage of the raw ingredient themselves, other markets, much larger markets, are prioritised by these international companies.
So would you like to see a boost in domestic manufacturing here?
Well, listen, domestic manufacturing obviously is the gold standard, but being able to manufacture anything in Australia, whether that's, roof trusses or chips for your car, medicines are no different. And when we have a high wage structure, which is a good thing, but when we have high energy prices and generally a high cost of production in Australia, I don't think that's a realistic possibility. What the government has done is they've put the onus on these manufacturers that from the 1st of July 2023, so in about 6 months' time, they must keep a 6-month buffer. But that means between now and July 1st, we're going to continue to have shortages, outages, and that means that patients are going to continue to have more in-depth conversations with their pharmacist about what they can use in the interim.
So what are those alternatives? There are reports that pharmacists are making up their own medicine to make up for the shortfall. Is this the best short-term solution?
So the Therapeutic Goods Administration, or the TGA, issues what's called an SSSI, or a Serious Scarcity Substitution Instrument, which is a bit of a mouthful. I'll give it to you. Basically, what they do is they wait until there is a proven nationwide shortage of medicines before they allow pharmacists to substitute. So firstly, that's the first problem, because being in regional Queensland, and I'm in Tasmania at the moment, but my wife and I live in northern Queensland, we often run out of medication before the big major capital cities do. So the first thing we would like the TGA to do is to enable pharmacists to do what they're trained to do, is to make sure that if the 500 milligrams are unavailable, we can give you 2 of the 250s. Or if the suspension's unavailable, we can crush up the tablets and formulate it into a suspension. So that's the first thing. But the second thing, Gabrielle, is, most people that are using these essential medicines have some form of healthcare or concession card. And at the moment, if pharmacists are doing what they do and do best, and they're substituting things to keep you on the medicine your doctor's prescribed, you lose that government subsidy. So we need to make sure not only can we keep you on the medicine your doctor's prescribed, but it should be at a price you can afford.
Absolutely. How much of an increase in hospital admissions are we likely to see as a result of this shortfall?
Well, unfortunately, it's been the case over the last 2 weeks when, many overworked and stressed GPs and overworked and stressed pharmacists are on skeleton staff and taking a well-earned break. And when you can't get the medication that is prescribed, often a repeat that you've already got, to just treat a cause for whether it's a skin infection or an upper respiratory infection, or you or your kid have some kind of, green snotty phlegm coming out of the nose, you present to the pharmacy, you can't get it, and the only recourse you've got is to clog up an emergency department. So as I said, if the TGA would just simply allow pharmacists to do what they're trained to do and to substitute where appropriate, of course we communicate this back to the GP, that's only common courtesy, but also that the patient doesn't lose their subsidy, then we can make sure that these people aren't necessarily contributing to ambulance ramping or our overburdened emergency departments.
And children are also being impacted by the shortfall as well. That's concerning.
Yeah, it is, right? Like, I've got a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they've only just now started to being able to swallow a tablet. So if it was only 18 months ago in the Twomey household, if we couldn't get a suspension, then we wouldn't have been able to treat our children if they had some form of infection. So, what pharmacists are doing is, and this is a trade of a bygone era, but it's coming back in vogue now, is we're having to utilise those skills we learnt at university to change one formulation, whether it be a capsule or a tablet, into a new formulation, such as a suspension, so we can make sure our young ones don't go without.
Trent Twomey, thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.